Every year, Americans spend billions on self-help, self-improvement, and transformation. But is it working? Welcome to the Transformation Truth Podcast, your home for a slightly irreverent and sometimes informed look at what it takes to change, why you don't have it, and what it will take to get it.
Well, welcome to the Transformation Truth Podcast. I'm your host, Darren Hibbs. Today, we have a special guest with us.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about Abel Villarreal.
No.
I'm talking about the Apple Watch.
The Apple Watch.
The Apple Watch is there.
And it's not coming on because that's what Apple Watches do. Unless it's facing me, it won't turn on. It has face recognition.
It has to face you.
It's No, it does not face recognition. No, it has to do with the angle. See?
Really?
Yeah.
So you can't see that, but Mickey Mouse is tapping his toe now.
See, Mickey Mouse...
That's very
interesting.
interesting.
Maybe for a second you saw it, but it's just for me. See, that's the way that the Apple Watch works. If you want one, you want to see the face, you got to go buy one.
Really?
That's the Apple way.
So it's the exclusivity is not just in buying a gold Apple Watch. It's in the face won't turn on unless
it's being able to use
it
at all. Yeah, I mean
So it's like someone comes up, hey, what time is it? You can't be like, hey, it's this time. They'd be like, that's a blank screen.
No, spend $400 or 10,000.
The 10,000. That one didn't appeal to me. I saw one this past week where someone will actually custom make a band for you. Mm-hmm. And then take the Apple Watch itself and they'll take they're making a custom gold band. And they're going to diamond encrust the entire thing. So it's a solid gold watch band with the clasp, and then they're going to take the gold Apple Watch and diamond encrust it. And I think the whole thing is going to cost about $120,000 when they're all done with it.
But of course, it's going to have so many diamonds you can't. It's not even functional anymore. You can't even touch the screen.
It doesn't look very functional.
No,
I mean,
just trust me. There's an Apple Watch
bumpy
underneath all those diamonds.
Now, see, this is what I like about my watch is it's on.
You can actually tell time.
Yeah, I mean it's got paint and stuff like that. I don't know if you can see this very well in the video, but I'm covered in paint and things like that because I'm working on a house.
And you didn't cry at all getting paint on that watch, right?
I didn't.
I would cry.
And,
I would go into.
And this actually has sapphire crystal glass right here.
Oh, nice.
And I've managed to scratch my sapphire crystal.
Nice.
It has. I actually took it to the guy. It's broken. It's broken 4 times. Mm-hmm. My wife bought this for me for our anniversary several years ago.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's the watch that the Navy SEALs use. It's actually it's the official Navy SEAL watch, and I thought that was just like a ploy, a marketing thing. But I actually one day I was sitting in a Starbucks, and this guy, like this big dude sitting next to me, he looks over at me and he's like, "So when were you a Navy SEAL?" And I'm like. I've been working out a little bit. I think I'm up to benching about 115 pounds now. But I'm like, what? Why do you think I'm a Navy SEAL? He's like, the watch. He's like, when were you in the SEALs? I'm like, I just bought this. And my wife just bought this thing. I didn't know it was. I didn't know, it actually was the Navy SEAL watch. And apparently every Navy SEAL has one.
Yeah.
And so I've talked to a bunch of them since then. And I have managed to break this thing 4 times now. And I've talked to Navy SEALs that have been blown through walls in Afghanistan, and their watch kept working. So me and my kids are harder on watches than, getting blown up in Afghanistan. So there's no way that I should have an Apple Watch.
No.
I'll destroy it.
No, I will go into clinical depression if anything happens to this thing. So I'm like, I couldn't understand. Just going on the website, I want to know is it waterproof? And so they're saying water resistant, not waterproof. And so one of the guys, I forget who it is, says, do not get in the shower with it. And then...
how are you... But you're going to forget. I mean, eventually you're going to have it on. You're going to forget.
Probably. Right now, no. It's like it's the first thing that I think about every time. I can't even take a corner around a wall without thinking, putting my wrist close to my chest so that I don't hit it against something. So it's kind of like having whenever you hurt your hand and you don't want to touch it against anything, it's kind of what it... So this is actually a handicap to have this on my hand now. I feel like I can't do much of anything anymore. But Tim Cook I think it's the CEO's name for. He said that he gets in the shower all the time with it, so nothing's happened to it.
It's not a big deal for him.
No, he can just walk downstairs and grab another one. Yeah. So
he's probably got like he's got 10 just ready to go.
Yeah.
At any given time.
No, he probably wears a Rolex. He doesn't even have an Apple Watch. He's not wearing one. No, he's a good CEO. I'm sure he wears one. But yeah, man. You know who is not worried about paying and replacing Apple Watches this week?
No.
Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather.
Yep.
They could buy
at least 3 Apple Watches
at least
this week.
At least. No, I heard. Mayweather made $250 million.
Is that all?
That's it.
That's $250 million.
That's the most anybody's probably ever gotten paid for just dancing around a ring square that big. I mean, I think they said, I forget what it was, $168,000 a second is what he made.
That's not bad. That's not bad money.
No. And then
take that.
Yeah, and then Pacquiao for losing, I think he made like $160 million.
Is that all?
That's a bad day for Manny Pacquiao.
I would definitely go into the ring with a prize fighter and get my face bashed in for $160 million.
Yeah, I would take one to the face.
The problem is there's a barrier to entry. There's gatekeepers in that business, and they won't let me in.
Why not? They didn't see your Navy SEAL watch?
Apparently not.
They don't get it.
I mean, at that point, I probably could have faked being a Navy SEAL for about 3 seconds until they asked me for the secret handshake or something. Then he would bash my face in.
I think they shake hands with survival knives.
Yeah,
so you've got to have one and cling them together.
But I mean, so I would love to get Manny Pacquiao losing money. Mm-hmm. For just getting my face. Actually, he didn't get his face bashed in that.
Neither one of them did.
No one got knocked out. Actually, I didn't watch it because it was apparently $10,000 to get the pay-per-view.
Yeah, and then I heard pay-per-view shut down for a lot of people, so that kind of stinks.
I don't really like boxing anyway, but
no, I heard it wasn't worth watching anyway.
Yeah, I mean, because neither one of them landed any big hits. Actually, what I read was Pacquiao actually landed the bigger hits than Mayweather. It's just Mayweather landed a lot more.
Yeah,
and it was because of course, Pacquiao was injured, and that's why he didn't do very well.
Yeah, it's a scoring sport. People don't know that boxing is not about knocking each other's teeth out. You don't get points for how many teeth you knock out or how many eyes you bludgeon. It's just how many hits you land. And Mayweather's really good at that, so I think
it's how many hits you land and the how many good hits you land too. I think you get
maybe
more points for
because
Pacquiao actually got a lot of points, and I think it's because the ones he landed were pretty hard hits.
I think
he didn't land
the
many.
Judges have special lenses that they can see how many birds it produces over your head that fly around in circles, and that's how many points they give you.
The thing that's amazing to me about it is there were I can't remember how many ringside judges, but their scores were almost identical, and the AP score was almost identical to. So it's I mean, I don't know how they do it because they're sitting there just punching, and you don't always have good visualization, you know. And so even the AP is watching on the cameras and different things like that. But I mean, in professional wrestling, they're this far away when they're, it's like they punch and it's like you're that far away from someone's face and they fall back,
Right,
it's
and you can't tell the difference.
And there's tons of rednecks out there that think it's real.
Yeah. Yeah, let's not insult the rednecks, man.
Well, that's true. We don't want to insult our target audience here. Sorry. If you are a redneck, that's
most likely listening to our show now.
Yeah, we know that's what we've been, mostly gathering here for this show. But
yeah.
But anyway, back to the fight. You were actually in Vegas. This past week.
I was in Vegas, and the number one question that people would ask you, "Are you here for the fight?" And so I was like, "What fight?"
You weren't ringside, but you were 3 rows back, right?
I was nowhere near the MGM. No, actually, I was. I was right across the street from the MGM Grand for a little while, right before all the crazies started coming into town. So we got there Monday and we left on Friday, and so Thursday is when things got really chaotic out on the Strip, and there was just tons of people pouring in who were there for the fight. And so You could tell all of the hotels, even we stayed at the Mirage. So they were taking extra efforts to like polish everything and make everything look good, and like carrying all the wasted people out of the casino and throwing them out into the street. That way their hotel looked really nice, and so. It was interesting to be there in Vegas altogether, but that was one of the things that was happening that week while we were there.
Just one of the things.
One of the many billions of things that happen in Vegas.
Today we wanted to just kind of piggyback off of Abel's experience in Vegas and just talk a little bit about, it really struck us that, Vegas is one of the fakest cities in the world. But it's also one of the most unique cities in the world.
Yeah.
It's in a place like Vegas just shouldn't exist.
No
one should live there, and so it's a testimony to human ingenuity and man's kind of spirit of conquering the wild.
Mostly mobsters, I think.
Well, there's that.
But no, flying from Houston into Nevada, it's just. As the closer you start getting to Vegas, the more barren the land looks. Like it's just from however high we were, 20,000, 30,000 feet up. You look down, and all you see is rock and dirt. I mean, it's like there's nothing. It's like you're flying over Mars. There should be no anything there. There's no plants. It's void of life, and then suddenly you come over these mountains, you pass the Grand Canyon, and you go over these mountains, and there's this huge town, there's this huge city down below, and you just wonder if like aliens were the ones who planted that there. But sure enough, it's just Earthlings, it's just humans, crazy humans.
I mean, it just shouldn't be there, and I think it's a testimony. It really is to what man can do. Mm-hmm. But it's also a testimony of where man's desire leads him.
Yeah. So interestingly, man wants to make his dream come true, and then goes to the desert to find it. So he begins in a place that should absolutely that doesn't give any kind of life, and then does everything they can to try to route life to it. I think that most of the water comes from Lake Mead.
Yeah.
Into Vegas, and you can just see how much water has probably been lost over the last, maybe I guess a couple hundred years. I don't know, but you can literally see the line of where water used to be and down to where it is. Yeah. I mean, it can't last forever, But yeah, I mean, they've done everything. They've flown everything there into the desert. They've brought everything into the desert to try to make this dream come true of having this little town. Where adults can play and try to live the dream.
Well, Vegas is the dream.
It's somebody's dream.
Vegas is absolutely the dream.
It's a dream.
It's a place where you can go ride a roller coaster on the top of a skyscraper needle.
It's more of a nightmare. But it was fun. We did that. We went up to the top of the stratosphere, which is 110 stories off the ground.
I can't imagine doing that.
And there's one little ride. It's called the X Scream, and what it does is it lunges you off of the edge of the stratosphere, probably by about, I'd say, good 20, 30 feet. And just absolutely, and then puts the brakes on right when you're coming to the end.
Looks
and then
miserable.
Pulls you back up. Yeah, everybody on there's going, why did I do this? It does it 3 or 4 times and brings you back, and you're done. And you're like, okay, that was fun. And then you go to the next ride. It's called the Insanity, which is just this big arm, this crane that has like 6 dual seats and hangs you over the city and then spins at this incredible rate and just makes you want to puke your guts out.
When you're waiting for this, are you waiting on top of the stratosphere? Or you're waiting at the bottom to take the elevator up?
No, you're already up there. You're already up there. And so you're just watching everybody else, regretting what they're doing.
See, that's what I was wondering is do they let you see it, before you get on?
No. You buy the ticket downstairs, and then you say, okay, ride the elevator up, and then you get there and say, how do I get my refund? And there are no refunds, so you ride the ride. It was insane.
They don't have the shame exit for the people that chicken out.
They may. We didn't see it.
Make them
we went for
walk
it.
by everybody else, and so
Right.
they can jeer at them.
Yeah. I think there's only one other way down. They actually have people who were bungeeing down to the bottom. And
Like they bungeed all the way to the bottom.
Well, I mean, not all the way to the bottom, obviously, because that would break a couple legs. But yeah, I mean, we saw them just jump, and they got to a certain place, and then it kind of came up, and then they just lower them all the way back down. And there's this little target on the ground.
Wow.
That's Brian. Do you want to do that? Just like, no way. I wouldn't have done it either. It was insane. But that was somebody's dream. Somebody dreamt that up. Said, we're going to put roller coaster rides on the top of the highest building in Vegas. And so lots of dreams, lots of things to experience and do out there on the Strip. That's just one of them.
Lots and lots of dreams. And where there are dreams, there are broken dreams.
Oh yes, Lord. Las Vegas itself, you think of the Strip. You think of, the grand hotels and casinos that are on the Strip, and they're beautiful, man. I mean, we were so amazed looking at like the Venetian and the Palazzo. I mean, these beautiful. They look like buildings that have been transplanted from another part of the world and just brought there in the middle of the desert. And they have gondola rides that go around these hotels, and I mean, it's magnificent, But then just right up the street, a few miles, feels like it's forever away, but just a few miles up the same street is Old Vegas, Fremont Street. And
Old Vegas isn't really that old.
It's probably really not that old, but it's the older side. It's where everything was before, all these imaginative people came in and put these huge hotels and casinos down the street on the south side of town. But you go to the north side of town, and we went to visit because they've got the lights there on that's called the Fremont Street Experience. So we got there, but we got there too late. When we got there, the lights were already off, and so all we got to experience were the people who were out too late at night, who were just trying to earn a buck, with their street skills and talents and dancing and Michael Jackson impersonations and I mean, you name it. But
how many Michael Jackson impersonations did you do?
I did Thriller alongside the actual guy before he got mad and like kicked me off the Strip because people were throwing me change because I'm a heck of a Michael Jackson dancer. Not true. We got to see just the people who were, probably needed to be home already. But we walking down and walking through some of those casinos. Brianne, my wife, she said, it kind of smells dingy and old. And so I kind of tongue in cheek joked with her, and I said, "That's the smell of dead dreams." But it was just interesting because the whole thing was just my whole experience in Vegas was just kind of this idea that people come there, they want to try to make their dreams come true, but all things fade away, and so this side of town was just kind of becoming a memory. Was just kind of this compartmentalized piece of what Vegas is and what Vegas was, but I think it was also telling of what happens with anything that we do in our lives. People come out there, they build this side of town thinking this is it. This is going to be the pinnacle of all of America and the American dream, and then it just kind of fades into obscurity, and they're trying to hold on so tightly to be relevant and to still try to make that dream come true, but it's passing away, and you could tell by some of the people who were there that they were existing in that life where they had maybe come there hoping for the American dream, hoping to try to make all their dreams come true, and then find themselves homeless and addicted and just trying to make a buck so they can buy something to eat. It's really sad, I mean, for all of the beauty and the wonder of Las Vegas, you could go anywhere in that town, even the Strip, and just see homelessness, open prostitution, escort services, people handing out cards with phone numbers to call to have a partner for the night, and Just people with signs saying, I need money for drugs. I mean, it's just incredible.
It's kind of funny that America's fakest city is also, the one that kind of flaunts the deepest, darkest side of human nature openly.
Yeah, it's in your face, you're right. It's a dichotomy, man.
A city that man designed is the one, a city that man designed that shouldn't have existed. Places like New York and Los Angeles, they have function. They're harbors and they served a purpose where they were. But Las Vegas was, let's just build a city here. And while we're doing that, let's design it to be this pleasure paradise, and let's make it everything that we could have always dreamed a city could be.
Yeah.
And while in the process of doing that, let's just go ahead and make everything fair game. And so, like you said, prostitution is legal, and everything under the sun, it goes. The slogan for Vegas is what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and so it's just this perfect representation of human nature. It's the ingenuity of man, mixed with all of the dark sides of human nature.
I had this moment of clarity as I was spending the most money I've ever spent on any single meal. Me and my wife were
Denny's.
Denny's.
Denny's are very expensive in Vegas, aren't they?
I think they're the same price. That's interesting. That's where you go if you've probably lost all your money and all you can do now is just point at pictures of food because you're so depressed and what you've done to your own life. We actually went. We had the opportunity to go to a really nice restaurant called Carne Vino, and had a really nice steak and some pasta, and we even tried some octopus, and so. It was Vegas. We figured,
why not
fresh octopus in Vegas? Probably.
So the question is, the octopus that you ate in Vegas, did it stay in Vegas?
Most likely, most likely. No, I was sitting there and we're having this incredible meal, and I started thinking to myself, given that we had spa treatment that day, and we're just really enjoying the day together. But then I had this thought, like, this is one of the greatest days of my life. Like, how can I make this day happen forever? And so I start scheming, like in the back of my head, I'm thinking, like, what can I do to move here and to work here and to do this enjoy this kind of dinner? There's nothing I can do to afford that kind of a dinner every night of my life, unless I got extremely creative and put a lot on the line. But then I caught myself having these thoughts, like, what am I doing? I'm actually considering moving here. I'm actually considering doing whatever it takes to make this dream come true. That's what Vegas does to you, man. That's why so many people have lost everything coming to this town, trying to pursue their dream, trying to be something that this town is painting for them to become, and for something for them to desire and to want and to shoot for and to achieve. That's what the allure of Vegas is. It's the best of everything to try to pull you into that world.
It's a caricature of that American dream. That,
absolutely.
You can
gone wild.
You can have whatever you want, and there's so much truth to that you can have whatever you want if you work hard enough, and if you do everything necessary, you can have all of the good things in life. I mean, there's just so much truth in that. As if you expend the energy, and the money and the time, you can have all those things. The
right.
question, and I think the question that places like Vegas pose is, are they worth it?
Yeah, and obviously you see the fallout all around you from, if you don't make it, then what? But it's so easy to still desire it when the food is in your mouth, when the drink is on the table, when the all the fashions are around you, to say, what do I need to do to get that? So it reminds me a lot of what Jesus spoke in Matthew chapter 6 and starting in verse 33.
I'm disappointed that you're not reading that on your Apple Watch.
So the Apple Watch, what it does is it just kind of gives you a peek into every app. It lets you do something in some of the apps, but you don't get to do everything. It would be incredibly difficult.
So the Apple Watch is going to be where the verse of the day pops up then.
Yes, exactly. Something like that. So it says in verse 31 of Matthew chapter 6, so do not worry, this is Jesus, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. And so,
so there you have it. If you worry about those things, you're a pagan.
yeah, I guess that's exactly what Jesus was saying. But you think what was a pagan? I mean, a pagan was somebody who believed into himself and believed into this world. Believed in their own fate and making their own destiny. They were at the helm of their own lives.
They were good capitalists.
That as well. And so you go into Vegas and you see capitalism at its best, right? But that's exactly what our hearts do. Our hearts twist and they turn as we see all of these wonderful, beautiful things and we want them, and we ask ourselves, what do we need to do to get them? And it actually ends up causing anxiety. It causes just this incredible amount of stress inside of you to say, what must I do to get these things? And it creates worry inside of you that you really, you just put on yourself for no reason whatsoever. The whole fact that since I've stepped into ministry 2.5 years ago, and took a huge pay cut from what I was making doing outside sales into working at the nonprofit, the Recovery Center, where I work now. I never thought I could have been able to afford to take a trip, to take a vacation with my wife. And this is one of the greatest trips and one of the greatest vacations that me and my wife have ever had the privilege to go and do. And it wasn't because of how hard I worked to earn money. It was just that God has been taking care of us each day since we've stepped into ministry. And just the incredible amounts of experiences that we've had, the things that we've never been able to afford to do, even when I was working hard and making all kinds of money. The privileges that we've had to go the places that we've been over the last 2.5 years have just blown me away. It wasn't anything I worked hard to do. It was just God there for us, taking care of our needs and giving us the privilege of enjoying the best of what it is he has to offer without getting sucked into that idea of me needing to try to make it happen. So it's just very telling of who God is. It's very telling of our own hearts. It's more about resting and allowing God to do what he wants with our lives and trusting him to supply for our needs.
I think, it reminds me of when the people of Israel were coming out of Egypt into the promised land that God was giving them, and Moses reminded them one more time before they finally went in, and he told them, the Lord is going to provide for you houses and vineyards and fields and things that you didn't plant, things that you didn't build, and he was going to give that to them. And Moses reminded them that it's the Lord that gives them the power to gain wealth. It's the Lord that gives you the ability to have these things. And I think it goes hand in hand with, with that, the scripture you just read to us is that the Lord knows we need all these things. Like, we don't need to worry about these things. The Lord will provide for us.
Yeah.
And so often all of the work that we do, we don't question, why are we doing this? Like, what am I doing this for? What am I killing myself with all these hours for? I've been working on this house, tons and tons of hours lately, and it causes me many times to step back and think, why am I doing this? Why am I killing myself for this house? And and it brings you to that point where work is good. Work is good for us, but I think it's always good to take that step back and say, but why am I doing it?
Yeah.
Because so often it's so easy to have that work, to have those things that we want capture our hearts, and we fall into that place where the things that could be good for us become the idolatry that consumes us. And that's what happened, with the people of Israel. God provided all these things for them, but they failed to reevaluate, why am I doing this? Why do I want this? And it was the idolatry that ensnared them.
Yeah.
That ended up destroying them. It's what Vegas is.
Right.
Vegas is is that caricature, is that idolatry of the American dream, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you take it to its man-made end,
Yeah,
that's where you end up.
yeah. They're all good things. Like I said, we enjoyed our dinner. We enjoyed the spa treatment. We enjoyed the big hotels and the just the wonderment of all of the entertainment of Las Vegas. But it's our own sinful hearts that take any of these good things, make them ultimate things, and suddenly they become idols. They become things we chase after, and nothing in the world is more important than those things, and we end up destroying our lives in the process, destroying relationships, destroying the future, just absolutely forgetting God's plan for our life. What was our life truly for? What have we been created for? What are those things we've been called to? And so, I'm thankful that what God has done in my life has been not to make how big my bank account is my security, but rather just knowing that each day I'm living out the life that God has laid out for me, and that I can find comfort and peace in knowing that whatever it is God has me doing that day is exactly what it is that God needs from me and needs for me in order that I might be fulfilled by Him and Him alone. It's the greatest security I've ever experienced in my life.
Do you ever ask the Lord, God, I enjoy the security that you've given me, but why didn't you give me the talent of bashing people's faces in for $160 million, $250 million?
At least once a week. At least once a week. You know what's interesting about boxing, though? You know that they tagged this thing, the greatest boxing match in history or whatever. What's interesting is I think boxing only happens once every 3 years now. So it's like
it doesn't happen very often.
By the time the next match comes, you forgot about the last one. This very well could be the greatest one because it's the only one you've seen like in 3 years. So I think Mayweather said he's going to fight like one more fight, and then he's going to hang up.
Well, I
the
was reading
gloves.
that they've been trying to get this set up for 5 years now.
Yeah.
And so so these guys are both almost 40 now. And it's like if they had done the fight 5 years ago, then it might have been a little bit better boxing match. But now it's like two.
But it would have been less money. They would have made less money. That was the whole thing. I said if we had done
They
this,
wanted the money.
Yeah, we'd done this 5 years ago, we wouldn't have made nearly the amount of money. So they built the thing up, So I figured that's what's happening in our lives. This is just a build up, man. Today it's a video podcast. Tomorrow, we're on HBO.
So I want to know, that would be a great thing is if each podcast we did, if there was such a build up to each podcast,
it's going to get good.
And we had like a Don King with us to kind of build up, and we got to the podcast.
Yeah.
And this podcast right here, like we made $250 million.
But I think the way they build that up is just by saying, at some point this thing's going to get good. So if you want to watch the good version of this podcast, pay for it on pay-per-view, and then we'll all make one. So we're actually holding back.
That's what we need to do.
This show is not as good as it could be. We're holding back because someday we're going to be on pay-per-view, and you're going to want to watch that.
You are going to want to watch that.
This is the build-up.
When we get to pay-per-view, you're definitely going to want to
We
pay
won't suck then.
to view it.
That's right. We need a manager.
We're going to build this thing up. Is Don King still around?
Let's
Don
find
King.
him.
Don King, I'm assuming that you're watching this just in the build-up to the pay-per-view podcast that we're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So we would like to retain your services. Make sure you come with the crazy hair.
We're giving you exclusivity to all of this.
Yeah.
We'll even punch each other in the face if we need to.
For $250 million, I think we could probably punch each other in the face and still be friends afterwards.
I did for $250.
$250. Well, maybe. We'll see where it goes with that. So thanks for joining us this week. Do check us out on transformationpodcast.net. Look us up at the Transformation Truth Podcast on iTunes. And for all of our redneck viewers out there, we don't really apologize. We don't really apologize.
We say redneck in the most loving way possible.
Yes, as any redneck would.
Yes.
So that's from the deepest place of our heart. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.